J-Dog, what's up, dude? Been a little while.
I know, man.
I feel like we already talked about this, but we are updating our name.
Sick? You were sick.
I was sick for a couple of weeks. I got sick. I got better for a day, then I got sick again because I went too hard, and I was out for like 2 weeks. And then we rebranded, didn't we? Look at that. Show those viewers our new logo, J-Dog. That's beautiful, dude. We are now the Skepsis Telegraph. The Skepsis Telegraph is our new name. We started as the Illuminati Squatty Potty and decided that excrement and toilets are not going to be our logo. And for convenience, we moved to Illuminati Telegraph. We just had to switch a word.
Illuminati is a little cheesy.
It is straight. I never liked it. Ever liked the name. We were onto something though. That's the thing.
We were.
So now,
then it started as something, we were like, let's just focus purely on conspiracies. Then we got into this whole, all right, well, instead of just focusing on conspiracies, we'll look at some news articles and maybe focus on some news articles. And then we started researching like ancient civilizations and shit like that. And this is not really conspiracies at all. So really, we're just a research podcast that telegraphs the information to you, who's a bit skeptical of the mainstream media that would normally deliver news and whatnot to you. So, I'll play on what we were named as a band, Death of Skepsis, which skepsis being the Swedish word for skeptic, kind of made sense to merge that with our current name, the Illuminati Telegraph, and there you have it. The boring story behind her name.
No, that wasn't boring. That was a really good job laying that out, because that's basically what it is. And did you mention that skepsis is the Swedish word for skeptic? No, it's a Swedish word that means the belief that phenomena and miracles don't exist. So basically skeptic.
So Dylan wasn't listening to me.
I was listening pretty good, man. I was listening very good, but I'm also trying to get my background going.
All right. Well, look, I am going to give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I got to do something real. Okay. So moving forward, we are officially the Skepsis Telegraph. Back. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. But we started talking about Operation Paperclip a while back, a few episodes back. And if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. Because we didn't talk about Operation Paperclip. We got pretty deep with Operation Alsos, which was one of the first operations of the war. Going in and trying to find these initial Nazis. But we learned, I'm just giving them a backtrack, Jesse, of how we got where we are now. So while we were doing Operation Paperclip, we actually talked about Operation Alsos, and that led to the origins of the Nazis, which was like Thule Society and all that cryptic stuff. So that got us into basically Tibetan Buddhism and Agartha and Hollow Earth. And then that got us into giants, creatures, and that got us into Gobekli Tepe, because we wanted to talk about giants. You can't talk about giants without talking about Gobekli Tepe. So that's where we are now. And today we are getting into, after covering the history of the cradle of civilization, the Levant, and how Jericho, the walls of Jericho in the Great Flood, how that ties into the beginning of the Neolithic Revolution. It's a beautiful thing, history, and really connecting the dots. And we finally got into Gobekli Tepe and Pillar 18 and Pillar 31, Enclosure D. And that was all to build up to this episode, Pillar 43, the Vulture Stone, because this opens up a GD can of worms, doesn't it, J-Dog? The biggest. You could say that this Pillar 43, is probably the most important ancient artifact on Earth at the time that we found so far, and understanding our history as a civilization, dating back to the furthest that we can trace it. So let's look at Pillar 43. Let me pull it up, share screen. You have disabled participant screen sharing, Dylan.
Oh, I got you, dog.
The main feature of Pillar 43 is the vulture.
We're gonna get into that. I want everyone to be able to see it if you're following along on the YouTubes. Still waiting for you to enable that.
Yeah, I have to refigure out how to enable this because Zoom makes it so convenient. But I'm a new man after I got sick. I don't complain about that stuff every episode. Just a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see how many episodes that last.
Yeah, it's probably not going to last past this episode because I still can't figure out how to share screen. There we go. All participants. All right, J-Dog.
Hey.
You are allowed to screen share. Is it working for you?
Well, maybe it's a user error on my part. I have to enable some security settings on my Mac.
Well, boom, look at that.
Sharing.
Logo City, baby. I got my background too. That's beautiful.
Cool. Look at that shit, bro.
Advanced sharing. Who can share? All participants who can start sharing when someone else is sharing. All participants.
It's good. So I'm enabling the... I might have to quit Zoom and... Wait, maybe not. Let me see.
Dude.
There we go.
I got you, dog. Pillar 43 is this big hunk of mubba right here.
Hey, this is Pillar 43. Hopefully you're not seeing my big
your big what?
System preferences thing on my screen right here.
No. I don't see anything.
Oh. I'm not screen sharing. Try this. How's that?
Yep, there you go.
All right, this is Pillar 43. So on Pillar 43, as you see, the most prominent feature is definitely this giant vulture on the middle left side of the pillar. And the pillar is broken up into two sections. You have this top part of the pillar that is, you can think of it like a T shape. The top part is the top of the T, which has the large vulture. And then to the right of the large vulture, you have a smaller looking vulture type of figure. And above that, you have what appears to be, it could be viewed as a bird with a snake in its mouth, although I have found that there are different interpretations of that. And at the very top of the T, you have what has come to be called the handbags. So you have these like squares with an arch along the top that would resemble like the handle part of a handbag. And then to the right of each one of those arches, you have what looks to be some animal carvings. And we'll get into what the potential meanings of that could be later on. On the bottom section of the T, the biggest prominent figure you have right here, and what has been key to some of the theories that have been developed around what this motif could mean, is the scorpion figure. And it's quite clearly a scorpion. To the left of the scorpion, you have what it could appear to be another snake, and below the snake, a dog type figure, which it's butted up against the perimeter wall right there. So you can really just see the snout of the dog and then two of the legs coming out. But it's pretty clear that that's a dog. And then towards the bottom, you have...
Can you put your cursor where?
Right here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And then you have at the very bottom of the T, you have what appears to be a duck style or a goose.
I would say goose.
A goose animal.
That looks like a goose.
And then one of the strangest, just the head and the neck, and it's kind of standing on his back or his neck. Like what appears to be the pillar cuts off, and there appears to be what is a headless man with an erect dick and balls at the very, very bottom.
Oh, do they even carved in the circumcision line? That's how you know these weren't Jews.
Did they?
Look at that dick. It's got the texture of that little line around the head.
I'm zoomed all the way in on the dick.
They even got the balls shriveled up too, like on this stone. These ancients back in the day. Do you think they had a laugh like any construction worker would?
Oh, I'm sure, dude. Humor, definitely.
Like they did a motion that was like small, like yours. Oh, not small. You're small, and they all made jokes about How
Yeah, dick jokes go back millennia.
and then Thoth came out with his trident and sparked him with electricity and killed him for laughing on the job.
One thing that I forgot to mention that's up towards the top of the pillar are those H symbols that come back again.
Oh,
and if you remember from last episode, that was on like the belt of the pillar 18, I believe it was.
Do you remember what those
D.
represented?
The parallel worlds between the underworld and this realm, basically.
Right.
So the cosmos and our world, or the cosmos, it could be construed a bunch of different ways, but that's what the author of the book that we're currently reviewing surmised in the last episode that we spoke about, those H symbols. But it's interesting they appear again on this pillar, so obviously there's some meaning to this culture back when Gobekli Tepe was built. And you also have these weird like V shapes that are interwoven together as well.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. And
that's a good observation. I only focused on the things the book talked about, and I never even really noticed that pattern.
Yeah, there's these weird
interwoven. It could represent the Milky Way, because as later on, maybe on the next episode or two, we'll get to that point where the dark rift of the Milky Way connects with like the main star of Cygnus.
Maybe
like it all. So that could be
maybe. However, 50. I found some alternate explanations because I did some additional research just to see, all right, the book is proposing this theory to what these symbols mean. So let me go see if there's some other stuff out there.
Thank you for turning off your Logic Pro notification. I freaking hate when those things bounce around. Like I know I turned off my audio driver. I know. Thank you.
My bad that was jumping around. I knew it was bugging you. It was bugging me. I just didn't want to jump off the program, but
you did great.
But yeah, so I went and did some digging and maybe these, so I don't know, you want to just jump in and start talking about what, obviously this motif means something, right? They spent time to carve this giant stone. So what were they trying to say with this scene that they're depicting here? You want to just go ahead and jump into it?
Yeah, definitely.
Let me stop.
In 2017, a peer-reviewed paper brought to light Pillar 43. Can you share that again?
The pillar?
Yeah, just keep the screen going with pictures.
You got it.
For the viewers.
Then I can't follow along with my notes, but do it. Go for it.
We can just leave it there. Let them
look at it.
That's fine. But in 2017, this got popular because somebody, I think it was the author, claimed it was a snapshot of the sky at 10,950 BCE, plus or minus 250 years, on the day that the youngest dryas impact destroyed everything. Archaeologists excavating the site disagreed, saying it could not be of this earlier epoch, and it had to have been made no earlier than 9600 to 8800 BCE. So they kind of missed the point. Like, no, it's not a snapshot of the sky because it wasn't made at that time. So radiocarbon dating will later confirm the stones to have been erected and made at 9600 BCE. So even though there's resistance, I still personally don't see how it's not a reflection of the sky at that time. But that's neither here nor there. That's just the beginning of the theory. In 2010, Spanish archaeoastronomer Juan Antonio Belmonte proposed the scorpion on the pillar represented Scorpius. To some, this would mean the vulture represents Sagittarius, while others think it symbolized Cygnus, the celestial bird, which is a prominent feature in the northern night sky. Further evidence from radiocarbon dating organic material removed from the ring wall of Enclosure D shows the stone was erected between 9745 and 9314 BCE, which would put its construction immediately after the end of the Younger Dryas mini ice age, when society reemerged from what would have been the catastrophe when the sky map fucking 10,950 BCE snapshot of the sky when everything got fucked up. So then they get into actually breaking it down. Two main features that connect the scheme to the night sky at 9600 BCE is the dividing line between the T-shaped head of the pillar and the lower stem. Joey, can you Joey, I was thinking Joe and
What
Jesse at the same
fuck?
time. Jesse, can you move your cursor along that horizontal dividing line and show the viewers
right here? So as the T shape that I was describing earlier on the horizontal dividing line is what decides the vertical part of the T from the horizontal part of the T.
Those who see the vulture as Sagittarius coincidentally view the ball as the sun being shown passing through that constellation. But according to known relief imagery and symbolism that comes from those cultures in South Anatolia, the circle always represents the human soul in the form of a head or skull, which could connect it to that body at the bottom with the penis. He must have been married. That's why his dick's hard, because he's finally free. Am I right? No. If it is a head, then it would make sense that it is part of the headless human body at the bottom of the stone. It also has an erect penis. The central vulture's wings tilt towards the ball, implying the ball, if representing some celestial object, also must be in the same part of the sky as the other forms depicted. If the vulture, scorpion, dividing line, and ball represent parts of the sky, could they be matched with the night sky in 9600 BCE? That's basically the foundation for what is still being argued today, right?
Right. Now, there are a couple different interpretations of this, and we'll get into that. But this guy, Rodney Hale, who is a British chartered engineer.
That's my boy.
Worked in the field of archaeoastronomy, devised an answer to this. So if the dividing line between the two sections of the pillar is to be taken as the local horizon, and the constellation of Scorpius is lined up with the approximate position of the stone Scorpion, then the ball placed above the wing of the vulture corresponds perfectly with the northern celestial pole, the turning point of the heavens around which the sun are seen to revolve each night. During the epoch of 9600 BCE, the northern celestial pole was located in the constellation of Hercules. Yet, at the time, no bright star was close enough for it to assume the role of pole star. Since then, the pole has shifted its position due to the consequences of precession caused by the axial wobble of the Earth across a cycle of approximately 26,000 years, which, we know from earlier podcasts that the ancient civilizations did have a good understanding of what is known as the Great Year, which is the precession of the equinoxes.
Yeah, this is a good example of the Great Year right here.
Yep. I'm glad you had those screenshots because I do as well. Awesome. And this is from Martin Sweatman's YouTube videos, which I highly recommend going check out. They're short. They're awesome. They're great. They're great to check out. So we'll go give that a look through.
Yeah.
It corresponds really well with this. Although I will say that, and we'll get into this, I guess, but Martin Sweatman's interpretation of this pillar is different from the author is proposing here. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah,
it's quite different.
I think he did a really great job of breaking it down. But we'll get into that. We will certainly get into that. I just wanted to use his picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had there were some good pictures, and I thought I got screenshots from it, but apparently I did not. So
yeah, I should have some as well. Fuck,
bust them up.
Yeah, but thing is, I think I have them on my iPad. I don't feel like getting up again.
Okay, that's okay.
So, well. I know you have. You should have them.
The northern celestial pole is technically the turning point, but yeah, it represented Hercules, and Hercules, you said that had no North Star at the time. So I think that means it wouldn't be accurate to assume the ball represents the northern celestial sphere, since there was
not necessarily. It was just they just observed if you're looking at the sky every night and you're watching the stars rotate around you and you map them out on a nightly basis and you have a grid system that you do this with, it's possible that even without a North Star that you could still see this this hole basically in the I don't want to say hole, but you would notice this rotational point within the sky that all the stars are rotating around.
That's
right?
True. That's true. Which is even more.
I don't know
for them to
So I don't know that
calculate.
necessarily need a North Star to be able to see that.
But
It
speaking
just so
of
happens that. Go ahead.
speaking of whole, because that kind of is part of the theory, the northern celestial pole, viewed by the Chukchi and Altaians, which were shamanic societies of northern Asia, they viewed the hole in which the soul passes after death. They viewed the northern celestial pole as the hole your soul passes through after death, similar to the hole in the top of the tents or the yurts that the smoke would pass through.
Yeah, that was a section of the chapter of this book. Yeah.
Yeah. And either your body goes through the hole of the northern celestial sphere when you die, or the shamans would mimic death because your soul takes the same path when you're under the influence of psychedelics. So it was like a shamanistic psychedelic thing where they'd be in the tent with the smoke tripping, and their spirit would be leaving with the smoke through the hole in the tent. And their ritual belief was that their spirit's leaving. It's like a parallel between the two.
Yeah. Have you ever done DMT?
Yes, I took a couple of hits and it wasn't that strong. I got tired.
Oh, what the fuck? I hear like people like my friends that tell me they blast off into the center of the universe. I'm just wondering if like they're smoking DMT like substances or like not necessarily DMT, but super strong psychedelics where you feel like you're among the stars and you feel like you pass through that celestial hole.
And that's basically what that is. So on Pillar 43, that head represents the northern celestial pole and also connects into their skull cult of the soul passing through that. And also shamans would mimic that in the hole in their tent when your spirit does the same thing. But yeah, I got tired when I did DMT. I wasn't so fortunate as to trip my balls off. So the vulture then corresponds to Cygnus. And I will share that later. The eye of the vulture even corresponds directly to the astronomical position of the constellation's brightest star, Deneb. However, the vulture is oversized and takes up stars of the neighboring constellations. And here's where I'll share because I have a shit ton to share. The vulture is oversized if we're actually mapping it to that area of the sky. But not coincidentally, does it? Oh, I'm sharing my notes. Watch this, J-Dog.
What's going on my fridge? That was weird.
So it's the vulture's too big and it takes up all of these constellations. Vulpecula. It takes up Vulpecula. Its name is Latin for little fox. This is Vulpecula. So Cygnus, the actual constellation, is this big. You can see in the picture. It's one of the constellations in this area, but apparently on Pillar 43, it's oversized, so it basically takes up all of these constellations. So that was a curious thing because everything's deliberate. So let's keep going through these. Vulpecula, Latin for little fox, identified in the 17th century, is located in the middle of the summer triangle, an asterism consisting of the bright stars Deneb, Vega, and Altair. That's the summer triangle. The vulture also takes up Sagitta, is a dim but distinctive constellation in the northern sky. Its name is Latin for arrow, not to be confused with the significantly larger constellation Sagittarius, the archer. Okay, so there's Sagitta. Looks like a little arrow.
It does look like an arrow.
The vulture Cygnus also takes up Delphinus, is a small constellation in the northern celestial hemisphere close to the celestial equator. His name is Latin, is the Latin version for the Greek word for dolphin. It's one of the smaller constellations. Delphinus's 5 brightest stars form the asterism symbolizing a dolphin with 4 stars representing the body and 1 the tail.
I don't know how dolphin would tie into all this, but cool.
Dolphins are fucking smart, dude.
That's how.
But I'm saying they don't show up on any of the pillars at Gobekli Tepe.
It is bordered right.
I was into the other ones so far. I was like, oh, well, damn.
Yeah. Pegasus.
The Latin words were derived from these.
Is named after the winged horse Pegasus in Greek mythology.
So all of these constellations you're naming were, if the celestial pole was in the correct position at the time of Rodney Hale's findings, the vulture would have been so large that it would have encompassed all of these different constellations.
Yes, including Hercules.
That you're going over.
It covers Hercules as well. And we all know who Hercules is. Roman mythological hero adapted from the Greek hero Heracles. I love how that's all connects back to Sumer. They just recycled it. It covers Lyra, one of the 48 listed by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy. Lyra was often represented on star maps as a vulture, an eagle carrying a lyre, and hence is sometimes referred to as Vulture Cadence or Aquila Cadence, falling vulture or falling eagle. That is it right there. Aquila, Latin for eagle, and it represents the bird that carried Zeus/Jupiter's thunderbolts. Its brightest star, Altair, is also in the summer triangle. And that's all the constellations. But basically, it takes up the 3 stars that make the summer triangle: Deneb and Cygnus, Altair and Aquila, and Vega and Lyre. In Greek Hellenic tradition, all 3 of these stars were considered vultures. In Greek Hellenic myth, they are the Stymphalian birds or harpies, 3 monstrous creatures that were part human and part vulture. In Babylonian mythology, Cygnus, Aquila, and Lyra were the 3 sky birds that attacked the god Bel-Marduk, the Mesopotamian equivalent of Hercules. In Armenian sky lore, the stars of Cygnus were seen as an ancient constellation known as Angeg, the vulture, because Armenia Major embraced parts of the southeastern Anatolia region, including the Sanliurfa province, which is something that kind of comes up again later. So according to the author, it follows that the vulture is the constellation Cygnus expanded to include all 3 stars of the summer triangle. And because Armenia Major embraced Southeast Anatolia, it seems like they put this, to me, one thing I thought was like they made it cover each one of these stars that represents a culture in that region, almost like the pyramids are laid out like the Osiris's belt. That's what I was thinking, like almost like these cultures were like, we're Deneb, you're Lyra, they're Altair, and maybe they're even geographically mapped similar. That's just what I was thinking, because Possibly. It mentions Armenia Major embraced it, and it's part of their sky lore too. Cygnus was known as Angeg, which was also a vulture in Armenia Major. So there's like this weird vulture consistent symbology way back when.
Yeah, and it's possible that's what that represents, but there are definitely other interpretations of what these animals could, and these inscriptions on Pillar 43 could mean.
Let's get into it. What do they mean, J-Dog?
Well, so you want to go over the Martin Sweatman stuff? Because Martin Sweatman had a similar belief. That he believed that this was a depiction of a sky at a certain time, but they disagreed on the actual timing of when it occurred, because they disagreed on the meaning of what the circle represented on the pillar. So, you know, the book, Andrew Collins and Gregory Little, they're proposing that circle is representative of the celestial pole. Whereas if you follow up on Martin Sweatman's work on Gobekli Tepe, he is referring to the sun. So he actually believes that the circle represents the sun, and the different animals all represent corresponding constellations based on the specific date of when Scorpius was in the position that it's in on that pillar.
Before we get to
So
that,
you have some screenshots that you can share for that?
Yeah, there's a little bit left in the book though.
Oh yeah, let's finish up the book's findings, and then I have one other one that I don't know if we'll get to it tonight, but it's a quick theory on what this could all mean, and it does make sense as well, and it has nothing to do with the cosmos and the stars at all. So anyway, let's finish out the book.
You can see that, right?
Yep.
So Cygnus rising above the horizon, because the book finishes up talking about the other vulture. This one right here.
Vulture chick.
Yeah, the vulture chick. What is that? So since the ball represents the northern celestial pole, according to the book, if a straight line is drawn down, it connects that to the body. It is seen to line up perfectly, therefore dividing it east and west. If that's the horizon, then that would be the meridian. So with the west side representing the western night sky where constellations descend into the horizon, then the eastern side represents where they're born again, or reaching the meridian. The wings of the vulture tilt towards the ball as if to acknowledge it as the soul of the human that has departed to its destination through the hole in the sky. And that seems kind of arbitrary, but
that's what I thought when I read that part.
But if you go further into chapter 3, which is, I think what I was talking about earlier today, but the vulture is seen as the creature that carries your soul into the afterlife. Therefore, the vulture, those were called psychopomps. And we'll talk about that briefly after Martin Sweatman. But just for right now, east and west, and that vulture on the right is rising and being birthed, and that is the one setting. The scorpion is shown below the horizon, representing its role as a guardian to the underworld. Shamanic traditions of Central and Northern Asia and also North America call the lower world or beneath world. In Greek Hellenic tradition, this was the tunnel-like underworld called Hades. In ancient Egyptian tradition, it was known as the Duat. Scorpius has traditionally been seen as the lower world creature. It was also seen as a guardian of the land of the dead. Rites concerning the transition of a soul from the land of the living to the land of the dead might only have been possible if Scorpius was below the horizon. So this is also like a ritualistic snapshot of the perfect time for your soul to ritualistically be sent into the afterlife, which gets into shamanic traditions when these things line up. Because at the time, this lined up every year. This was the constellations in place. Now it's different
because of the
So every year they can have this
wobble
summer solstice type ritual where they send their soul into the whatever the fuck,
the underworld.
So wrapping up what's in the book, the headless body is either an animated corpse, somebody that has died and their soul is on the way, or a shaman, somebody who's practicing the ritual of sending your spirit on command through this process. This represents the path of the soul through the hole in the sky and the hole in the tent. That's what I was saying earlier. The soul is represented by a head or a skull in these cultures all the time and was thought to leave the body after death or in altered states of consciousness. And Gobekli Tepe has shown to be one of the earliest known sites having a skull cult because they start discovering these things. And this is where we get into Martin Sweatman's video, which also begins with this picture I'm sharing. So Jesse, basically, this is a map of the sky from that time. That's the horizon. The meridian is the ball and the head, and it represents the celestial North Pole and the skull cult of your soul passing through the hole in the sky, whether you're dying and it's actually passing through the hole in the sky to get to or you're a shaman tripping balls in a tent because your spirit does the same thing when you're high on drugs. And to get deeper into it, we're now going to look at video 1 of Dr. Martin Sweatman's 6-part series, Prehistory Decoded. Jesse, what does Dr. Martin Sweatman say? And this picture is from his video.
So Dr. Martin Sweatman built on a theory proposed by Graham Hancock back in Fingerprints of the Gods, where he proposed that what was depicted on Gobekli Tepe was the scorpion at the bottom was the constellation Scorpio, and the constellation that would be represented by the vulture was actually Cygnus. And that was based off of the date that Graham Hancock had picked at the time, which would have, for some reason, been the sun passing through today's date, if I recall correctly. Is that right, Dylan? The way he described that part?
I don't know.
The way Graham Hancock was describing it. And then Martin Sweatman essentially said, no, that was the wrong interpretation of it, that what was represented by the vulture was actually Sagittarius, not Cygnus, which and then they did some so it was Graham Hancock. And Solarium is the program we're looking at right here.
It was Graham Hancock thought it was Cygnus. Martin Sweatman says Sagittarius, right?
Right.
So Graham Hancock, Cygnus, then the ball is the sun. Martin Sweatman, Sagittarius, then the ball is...
And forgive me, I don't have any notes in front of me. I'm just going off the top of my head on this. So
oh, wow, that's pretty impressive. I got notes right here. Let me read this.
I will be fucking this up. So Mr. Martin Sweatman proposes that vulture was Sagittarius, not Cygnus. And then to prove his theory, they use this program called Solarium, where you're able to go back and see what constellation the sun was passing through on a given date when looking at a given section of the sky. So why don't you read through your notes on how we came to this date of 10,950 and what's important about that date?
All right. This bird represents Ophiuchus, but it's not in the perfect position according to Martin Sweatman. This is the vulture, right? This wing.
Yeah. So what Dylan is pointing out right here is he's pointing to Sagittarius, and that would be the vulture as represented in the year 10,950 BC.
The goose at the bottom looks like Libra, and this is Martin Sweatman. The dog wolf looks like Lupus. This dog would be Lupus here.
Correct.
Libra, Scorpius. I guess that's Ophiuchus. Remember the bird that's rising?
Yeah, the vulture chick, the small vulture on pillar 43.
Yeah, the small vulture. So basically, Sweatman might not believe that theory, and he thinks it might line up with just another constellation.
Yeah, essentially the argument is, does that ball represent the celestial pole in the sky, or does that ball represent the sun?
At the time when Sagittarius was right here, right?
Correct.
Which was 10,950 BC.
Or the book is proposing that constellation is Cygnus. So the book is actually proposing what Graham Hancock is proposing.
So these are two different theories we're talking about.
Yeah, Martin Sweatman is saying that no, that's the sun that ball is representing, which would represent either a different date or those are different constellations they're referring to.
Right. The handbag symbols, according to Martin Sweatman, and I like this theory.
Yeah, this theory makes sense to me.
Supposedly represent the other three solstices and equinoxes. And instead of handbags, they are pictures of the suns on the horizon. And that does look like a sun now. Like whenever it sets on the horizon, it's flat like that. And the rays. Can you hear that siren?
No. Oh, yeah, a little bit.
You can hear it. Hopefully they're picking up some dead homeless people that OD'd in their RVs. Just joking. All right, back to the ancient stuff, huh? That was a dark joke. Hey, well, we're speaking of like dying and stuff, right? So like maybe that ambulance is going. Maybe those homeless people are free and their souls going through that hole in the sky. Then they don't have to worry about cooking meth on the side of the road no more, flipping off traffic. Anyway, I'm having flashbacks
of the homeless problem near you.
Yeah, they've been back and forth. They all left and the whole road was trashed. And it was like, damn, how can they do that? And then they all came back.
And it's legal.
Yeah. Yeah. So the handbags represent the other three solstices and equinoxes. And instead of handbags, they're pictures of the sun on the horizon. The animals near them correspond to the corresponding constellations. Pisces, respectively. First one, that's Pisces, right?
Yeah. Why don't you use the screenshot of this section?
I have another one.
Nope, not that one. Not that one.
Well, that's my other screenshot of this section. So,
all right,
that's Pisces on the first handbag, and that's the That's the asterism. Go ahead.
I'll take. Stop screen sharing.
You can share. I set it so that you can override it.
Oh, it wouldn't let me.
There you go. Pisces was the first bag. Gemini is the second bag, and the winter solstice. There you go. I had that one too. And Virgo is the third one of the spring equinox. So the main one is like the main pillar 43 vulture must be the main equinox. And all of that happens at 10,900 plus or minus 250 years. And the odds.
So they did the odds. So they did a statistical analysis, like a scientific breakdown of like, all right, well, picking which asterisms each of these animals represent.
Wait. I have a question before we go too far.
Okay.
Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo are equinoxes respectively, like a fall, winter, and spring. This all happens as what he says. This all happens at 10,900 plus or minus 250 years. Mm-hmm. So at that time, these equinoxes recurred annually. Correct?
Yes, correct.
That's how it works. I just wanted to clear that up. So these happened,
solstices, yes.
These happened every year for as long as our great year was facing Hercules, right?
For 26,000 years.
Can we go back to that zodiac one real quick? Yeah, so this great year, there we go. Here we go. So that shows the Earth in the 4 different positions around the sun throughout the year. Oh, this is summer 11,000 BC, summer 17,500 BC. See, this is what's confusing me because this is actually thousands of years apart. This isn't actually annually. You know what I'm saying?
This is just showing you the procession of the equinoxes. This was not showing you what was necessarily on Pillar 43.
Well, he actually described next to the handbags. These are next to the handbags. That's Libra, handbag 1, handbag 2, and handbag 3. Right?
Right. But the point he was making, so during the summer of 10,500 BC, you would have you would see Pisces. Is that right? Is that
that's Gemini?
Is that Gemini? So you would see Gemini there.
And at the northern celestial sphere would be at Gemini. Is that what you're saying?
So let's see. Yeah. So on the opposite side of that, so in the winter, right? I guess you would
that's 9,000 years apart. So it's not the winter.
No. But listen,
you're talking about the great year, the winter of the great year.
I'm not talking about the great year, but if this was just in a normal year. Directly opposite of that is the constellation, and I'm not sure if this is how it works, but this is I'm putting it together. Directly opposite of that would be the constellation Sagittarius, and then if you look at like in between those two constellations, right where fall would fall, you have this symbol,
Pisces.
which are Pisces, and this symbol, which is what, Libra or whatever.
Virgo,
right?
Spring. Summer.
Yeah, but this is just saying this picture is showing you that, all right. So if you were in summer 4500 BC, yeah, this is a great year. But in the video, he's using this to describe like, all right, well, if you were in this particular great year on the summer, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this to you. You'd have to go back and rewatch the video. He's talking about something different on top of this image as he's going through it. So that's probably why it's confusing you. He's essentially saying that in the course of a single year during that particular great year, if you look at these constellations opposite of each other, so Gemini is going to be opposite of Sagittarius, Pisces is going to be opposite of Virgo. As the Earth goes around the sun in that particular great year. So that would be the constellations that these ancient people would be seeing. It would be different if you were in summer of 4500 BC or summer 1750 BC or summer 2000 AD. He just used this to show that the reason that this is not what we would look up and see today is because of the great year. Because we're going to see the opposite constellation in our summertime based on where we're at in the great year. I don't know if that made any fucking sense at all, but it's a difficult thing to describe. But anyway, I'm sorry. That was a long, useless tangent.
Well, it's not useless.
Cut that whole section out.
No. Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo. Because in the video, let's just watch that section. Fuck, what the fuck are we doing? We're trying to figure it out. That's the name of this game.
Yeah.
Hold on. Don't play it yet. Because right here, he's saying Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo are represented by the handbags as the solstice and the equinoxes. And this all happens at 10,900 years ago. So that statement, do you understand what I'm asking? This statement right here, is he talking about annually those equinoxes or?
Yes.
So.
All right, here we go. We're going to listen to just one section. This is a short section of the video.
Actually, it's going to play ads in 5.
Wow.
Solstices and equinoxes at this time.
Do you have the sound? Can you hear that?
So that's a nice idea, but what is...
You can.
And over the whole world rose a clamor of hysterical joy.
World War I promised us a perpetual peace.
All right, skip ads. All right.
This procession of the equinoxes, and how can it be used to represent a date? Well, you know that the Earth rotates on its axis, does that once a day, but that axis of rotation itself processes over the course of about 26,000 years. So it's like a wobbling top.
25,920, but whatever.
And that has observable consequences.
Yes.
It means that if we look behind the sun, if we could see behind the sun and see what constellation was there on the summer solstice today, we would see the constellation Gemini.
On the solstice.
But 11,000 years ago, if we were to do the same thing, if we were to look at the sky behind the sun on the summer solstice, we would see the constellation Sagittarius, as shown on pillar 43. So the summer solstice constellation gradually rotates around the zodiac, and it's the same for the other equinox constellations and the winter solstice. So by writing down all 4 of the constellations corresponding to summer and winter solstices and spring, autumn equinoxes, you can write a date accurate to within about 500 years.
There you go.
So that's what we propose pillar 43 represents.
Okay, so what part of the great year do those constellations wind up behind the sun during the summer solstice?
What do you mean?
If you were to ask that question, that would be the answer. If the pillar 40, if pillar 43, if that is representing the solstices of a year, because that's the thing that was confusing me, because it's a hybrid statement. It's the solstices of that year in that
within the great year
of the great year. Right. So it was like a fractal picture. So it's like a reverse puzzle. Like here's like an astronomical part of a test in college. Like if these are your solstices, which one's missing? Oh, Sagittarius. Like, okay, what part of the great year were they lined up behind the sun during a solstice? It's like, oh, okay. And then the puzzle gets a little more specific. It's like, okay, it was 10,900 plus or minus 250 years. It's like, good. And then some other person's like 12,000 years. They get it wrong. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
what he ended up doing to determine like the accuracy of this date was
math.
Yeah, they basically was math. So there are 11 different animal figures depicted on all of these different pillars at Gobekli Tepe.
13, roughly 13 different animal symbols.
13. So
that's an occultic number, bro.
Do you have notes on how they did this statistical breakdown? I'd like you to share that.
The odds of getting these animal symbols is in the tens of millions, he says. If each symbol is a dice with 13 sides, because there are roughly 13 animal symbols that have appeared at Gobekli Tepe, not just on the stone. So there's 13 symbols at Gobekli Tepe total. And if each one was a dice with 13 sides, if we take into account the orientation of the symbols as well, you get 1 in 7.
Well, the 1 in 7 for the orientational correlation.
Because there's 7 orientations available or something. That goes beyond me, okay? But that's what he did, okay? Combined with 1 in 20 million, which is how many options you get with 13-sided dice, then you get 1 in 40 million. That this particular orientation is the case on the stone. So 1 in 40 million is the final result of doing statistics with all of
1 in 140 million.
1 in 140 million. Wow. Yeah. That's the odds.
Because they did this statistical breakdown because all of these different.
Sorry, that's the other thing. They fucking factored in the orientation, and I was like, how do you do that? But that's based off of the great year. So I guess there's like 25,920 options in the great year for each year, mixed in with all of the options of 13-sided dice. So those are the two things that like multiply together to give you these astronomical odds. If it was just symbols, like them picking symbols, that's still crazy odds that all of the symbols from
point being the odds that they pick these particular symbols that could be closely related to particular asterisms in these different constellations in the orientation with which they're laid out on the pillar is 1 in 140 million. So it's a very, if you do the math based on those factors, then it's a very low probability that this could be depicted of a different time if you were thinking that those animals represented constellations.
That's what I was trying to say. Did I not say that well enough?
No, you said. I mean, I just kind of summarize it in my voice. Sorry.
That's crazy odds, man.
It's crazy.
And I like that. That's one of my favorite parts of his video, because all of the other stuff is almost like induction. Is just creating good odds for something to be the case. Like it's pretty, but actually figuring out the odds. Well, I guess it's the same thing, but yeah, that would be the same thing.
So he did a good job of like making it something that could be unscientific, as scientific as possible.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. Because odds, how can you go against? If somebody at work, say you mentioned this to somebody at work, and they're like, "Oh, that's just fucking crazy." It's like actually, it's 1 in 141 million that would be the case. So if you want to go against statistics, be my guest. Badass logo, dude. It looks like you're in space, man. That's so cool.
And so then he goes in, the next video goes into what was significant about that particular date. Why would they depict that date on these pillars? And that's in video 2.
You got some notes on that? I watched it, but I didn't take notes, but it was pretty relevant.
No, it's just basically the theory of the Younger Dryas impact, which is exact the theory that the book is talking about. So they end up at the same conclusion, the book and Martin Sweatman, that this pillar was representing the events that occurred during the Younger Dryas impact. I don't really have notes. I have screenshots that I can share.
Share them. Dude, you can't even see my microphone right now. Yeah, there you go. Dude, that is awesome. All right, sorry. I like the logo.
Let me find my screenshots. Here we go.
It's like a sports team, dude. We need to make jerseys.
Right?
Fitted hats.
I mean, we've already talked about some of this evidence, so we'll breeze through this pretty quick. So
Jesse is showing a picture of the black mat layer.
The black mat layer. This layer, it can be found in a huge area.
Ooh, that was a beautiful picture.
What was?
The map of the Levant, the topographic map. Yeah,
that's the Levant. There you go.
The Levant.
More Gobekli Tepe. It's in here somewhere. There we go. That black mat layer we were just looking at can be found at sites all through what's known as the Younger Dryas boundary field,
or YDB. 21 total.
YDB field. Yeah, 21 different total sites that they found this black layer within. And what this black layer what does that layer represent, Dylan? Do you remember exactly the cause of that?
Yeah, after the major comet impact of roughly 12,800 years ago, all of the ash and debris and acid rain that fell from the sky from volcanic activity and the
impacts of comets striking the Earth. Yeah.
Nuclear equivalent to nuclear. How do you say that? Nuclear blasts, basically. It just put shit all up in the sky for a long time, and it rained down. And when it all settled, it turned into the black mat layer. So it's literally the ash and debris of
and it's pretty amazing. Like, there were like pretty advanced cultures that, you find artifacts from like refined tools below this black mat layer.
Yeah, we're going to get into that too, because we're really trying to get into giants.
Yeah, we already have, but in last episode that we talked about this, but below the matte black layer, you find all these like sophisticated tools that these ancient civilizations were using. And then above it, it's all crude, as if like they forgot all the knowledge of how to go through and make those sophisticated tools.
Yeah, like
so it's like almost as if civilization was wiped out by some crazy and that's, cosmic event.
Anyway. That's the narrative, just based off of archaeology, looking at the layers. If they were just to say the activity of society based off layers, they'd be like, everything was pretty advanced. It appears everything was completely destroyed and covered in its own ash and started over, and we can see everything start back over.
So that's one piece of evidence.
There's also a layer of it being white because of such high levels of heat shock.
Acid rain.
It got like flashed white, like bleached almost.
And also do the acid rain as well.
The acid rain made it do white as well.
Mm-hmm.
Go white as well. Yeah, so they have like the black mat and then a layer of bright white that lets them know something really hot happened. That only happens, and not microspherals or vitrification, although that is found. But it just appears like the earth was just shocked. Bleached, basically.
That's not what I wanted to do. So that's one piece of evidence. You have that matte black layer. There were a couple other pieces in there as well. Damn it, man. I don't have all of my screenshots that I originally had. And
those are a lot of beautiful graphs, though. What were you looking for?
There was one on the temperature different temperature changes that he had mapped out on this graph that lead up to present. And it was
I saw you on one
showing
that had a temperature.
no, that's not it. 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 Fuck. Oh well. It showed, you could see it right here, right in this image where it talks about hasn't the YD theory been debunked. It shows this graph of the temperatures and how there is a sudden cooling at the exact time of the theorized Younger Dryas impact, and then a warming at the end of the last mini ice age as well. So that's more evidence. They had sediment that they found at the bottom of lakes near Gobekli Tepe that had there's this charcoal horizon at this specific depth that would have lined up with the dates of the Younger Dryas impact. So if you looked at and there was also a platinum spike they found, I forget where they got this data at, but if you look at this giant platinum spike, that lines up with the dates of the Younger Dryas impact. So if you combine all the evidence together, the dates line up roughly within, for the platinum spike, between 10,870 BC, and the black mat lines up within 10,825 plus minus 50 BC. So those dates actually line up perfectly with each other. So once again, more evidence that our world was rocked by this tremendous cosmic impact back in 10,870-ish BC, which potentially wiped out, whatever forms of civilization were at that time, whether they were advanced or primitive. Quite obvious,
Both.
some cosmic event wiped it out. So yeah, that was the second video where he goes into why would they try to depict a date like that on this giant monolithic pillar in Gobekli Tepe? And well, because it was the restart of humanity.
Right. And, that's the crazy part is that 1 in 141 million odds. It's not even the odds if you factored in the likelihood it would also line up with the last catastrophe that restarted. That's like the third factor. It's like they got the symbols that are there. They got the summer equinoxes that are there. And it's also the time where the catastrophe happened.
It's pretty.
I mean, that would be
that's pretty compelling.
Hundreds of billions of odds. How would you factor that in?
Now,
the odds that it lined up on because how many catastrophes are there? And they go back like hundreds of millions of years. So you're talking these huge numbers to like factor in.
Now, I want to be fair. Not everyone believes this pillar is depicting a cosmic event that occurred during the Younger Dryas impact. So we'll wrap it up with this last theory before we close out this episode. So I came across just this page, Old European Culture, and I was like, let me see what they have to say about this. They actually believe, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to sum this up. This person has a bunch of articles about zodiac signs and what their meanings were and how they're actually used as solar calendar markers. And they're used to mark part of the solar year when the animal in which the zodiac is representing has its mating or birthing season, which is an obvious annual event that you can't miss. This use of animals in solar calendars predates the Greek zodiac by thousands of years and was ubiquitous all over Eurasia and North Africa and used the same way since the Neolithic. Both animals depicted on Pillar 43, vultures and scorpion, were used in Middle East and Central Asia as calendar markers to mark the beginning of the rain season. So why would they do that? In the area of Gobekli Tepe, the solar year was divided into two seasons: dry season, which is the end of May to start October, and rain or wet season, which is the end of October to start of May. And in places with this kind of climate, the arrival of life-giving rain is the most important calendar event. Vultures begin their mating season when the first rains arrive in November. I'm gonna share my screen right now.
Please do.
And you can't miss it because they start their synchronized displays. Scorpions hide when the temperature gets too low, which in the area of Gobekli Tepe is also when the first rains will arrive, November. And you can't miss this because they disappear from the fields where it's cold and wet, and they appear in your houses where it's warm and dry. So both scorpion and vultures being depicted on Pillar 43 could mean when rains arrive. Cool, but maybe that's just coincidence. So how do you explain the bags? Well, scorpion was used in Mesopotamia as the calendar marker to mark the beginning of the grain sowing season. Sowing of grains was done after the first rains when scorpions disappear. After the furrow is made, the seeds are planted into the furrow. And how do these sowers bring the seeds to the field? Well, most likely in a basket or bag with a handle. Like this one, and they show some other ancient depictions. It's like this one walking next to the plow on this Mesopotamian seal. And if you can see it right there. Or like this one seen carried by in this Egyptian mural, which is right there. Oh shit,
seeds.
Or this one carried by this European medieval drawing.
And you would plant the seeds in the summer, right? The solstice. I'm sure that time has something to do with.
Or this one, yeah. And this one in the Van Gogh paintings. So,
well, Van Gogh didn't know shit.
Yeah, whatever. So these baskets keep popping up over and over. So he says, I wonder if the basket-like objects found depicted all over Mesopotamia were possibly actually just baskets full of grain seeds used for planting new grain. If you think about it, the mental jump from all of the seeds you collect to save some of the seeds to plant them so they will grow into plants that will produce more seeds next year was huge. It was a paradigm shift of the highest order. The faith placed in these seeds was massive. The expectation was these seeds was huge. They know from ethnographic records that the seeds are treated in a special way and that special rituals were performed with them, that blood sacrifices were offered to them. All in hope that the seeds would take, sprout, grow, ripen, and eventually, after a whole solar year has passed, yield more seeds than were originally in the basket. So blah, 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 blah. You could, it would be so important you could make a religion out of it. So
basically he's saying that the religion was around seeds because it was the Neolithic revolution of farming.
Right.
And agriculture. That's fair. But that only explains a fraction of Pillar 43, which is a fraction of Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah. I just wanted to share like another perspective. I think that's fair. We should do that.
That is fair.
Instead of just trying to utilize confirmation bias to believe what we want to believe in this book, which is that
aliens,
ancient, aliens, humans, basically.
That's not what the book says, by the way.
No, not at all.
And this book that's just the beginning of this book. We're going to be getting into giants.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3, and the name of the book is Denisovan Origins by Andrew Collins. So it's really laying the groundwork for
Gregory
giants.
Little.
Because I think what he gets into eventually in this book is like this religion based around what appears to be some accurate astronomical mapping on the pillar, or something about seeds, like a ritual around seeds.
I doubt it around seeds, but
does it connect to more older cultures before the impact? So then it gets into ancient. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm interested in.
Ancient. And
that's where the confirmation bias comes in, because I want to believe that there are these ancient civilizations full of giant people and super intelligent beings with advanced technology.
What you were saying earlier about what they found below the dirt about things from societies like pottery and art and stuff. One thing that kind of sparked this whole roundabout thing from the Nazis to the Hollow Earth. Just go back to our old episodes. In the middle is sprinkled article episodes where we cover like some recent events, but the deep dives are all in this course from the Nazis into all of this ancient shit. But the Denisovan, super ancient, like 50,000 year old or something. They found a bracelet in a cave in Russia, and there's a drill hole through this bracelet, and they do like microscope tests on it, and it's absolutely a high-speed drill bit that drilled this hole.
So how did they do that?
Yeah, and it's older than our modern recorded history, which goes back 9600. It's that bracelet and what they're finding with these Denisovan origins and giants, caves, and old things is like 50,000 years old. And Cygnus is like the beginning of it. And that also makes me think about Rush, because they had that record called Cygnus X Book 1. And it's a epic concept record about a guy who finds an instrument in a cave. And then the king and the empire wanted to outlaw this magical music that was coming from this instrument. So I thought that was interesting. Back in the 70s, Neil Peart was in tune enough with stuff like this without the internet to write his own story about a guy who, like, the bracelet finds this high piece of architecture in an ancient cave, Cygnus, back in this time when it was the constellation 25 whatever thousand years ago. He's old.
I mean, he was part of the Illuminati.
And then the empire tries to outlaw it. And that's what the empire today tries to do, is keep us from knowing that aliens invented us somewhere near Jerusalem.
In the Levant.
No, that's not what this book says, but I mean, everything just connects, man. Rush, this, Nazis, Operation Paperclip, Hollow Earth, lizard people, giants, Russia,
Nazis.
It's like
you can't to the Nazis.
Like if you go deep enough, one thing, like the 6 degrees of separation or the 6 degrees of John Bacon.
Yeah.
You know, that game is based off of a statistical mathematical breakthrough of like the 50s called the 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yeah, I knew that. I knew of it, of the 6 degrees of separation, before knowing it of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Right on. It's like the difference between small world networks and large world networks, like computer modes and internet hubs. It's like there's a circle of dots, and they get from one dot to this dot, you have to go through all the dots. But if you create like one hub in the middle, now within 2 points, you can go to any dot. So that's a large world network where everything's connected. And that's like history, because if you look into one thing, you're not far away from connecting it to something that seems totally unrelated. Like Nazis,
that's true.
Gobekli Tepe, and then giants.
And chocolate,
because Nazis and the corporate power structure and the child slaves that we talked about in one of the recent episodes in West Africa, and then Tesla, right. And then right back into the Nazis, and then it's crazy, man. I like doing
back
this.
To Gobekli Tepe.
These podcasts are a lot of work, but they're always rewarding. Where else can you like look into stuff with a friend and then talk about it? No one does that.
Just podcast.
Yeah.
It'd be a weirdo if you just did this on your free time without putting it online for other people to listen to, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe in your 20s, but not when you're getting old like us.
Yeah, we're getting old.
Your hairline's looking good, though.
Yeah.
What is your hairline?
I don't think I'm losing it. No,
you don't think you are?
Lose my hair? Nah.
I think I started having a little patch. I think it's starting to go on me. Where is it?
Oh, I already have gray in my beard. I don't give a fuck about gray.
I don't care about the beard.
But I don't think I'm losing my hair. Oh yeah,
right here. You see it?
Yeah, bro, it's getting back there.
I've always had like that hairline, but this part recently thinned out. This part's normal.
You're gonna have like the U?
Yeah.
The inverse U?
Yeah, I'm trying to not though. What can you do though? You know what I mean?
Nothing. Shave it if it gets like that. Fuck it.
Because there's like young guys that have it worse. So it's almost not really indicative of your age as much as it is just genetics.
Right.
But it's still not bad. It's not bad enough. I can still be in denial about it.
No, it's not bad, dude. I mean, I didn't notice until you pointed it out to me.
Yeah.
I think I'm good for a while, and I don't give a shit if I start to lose it. I'm shaving it.
Okay,
Fuck
that's
it.
good.
I don't
That's
care.
good. Fun episode, man. I'm glad we did this talking about Pillar 43 because Death of Skepsis, our band, one of our new songs is called Vulture Stone. And
The
it was a
Vulture
perfect time to
Stone.
rebrand with Skepsis Telegraph, new podcast, first episode under the new official banner that we're proud of.
New logos. Fuck yeah.
Talking about
I'm in,
Vulture
I'm
Stone.
in space.
You're in space. I'm in a college football game.
A cup of coffee.
That was chai. I got hired by this Pakistani Indian Nepalese church to play every Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit of money, and I don't know, it's crazy, but it's fun. So they've been teaching me how to make chai. They're talking about how like they make it for a long time. One of the guys' dad boils for like an hour and then adds milk. You can do powdered milk, all the spices. Like they do chai. Big. It's Starbucks.
Sounds good.
Shit.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I'm been
Like it
working.
tastes good.
Dude, go to. It's still good. Go to Starbucks and get a chai, dude. It's not too much caffeine like a coffee, but it's not like
need
a
a
watery
main-
tea. It's right in the middle, dude. It's chai because it's still got black tea caffeine. You still got some. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
about to check that out, but I like to mainline the coffee. I'll have to do that on one of my days off when I don't need the coffee.
Well, even if you've already had enough coffee, but you're like, fuck, I just want one more, but I don't want too much caffeine.
That would be perfect.
Dude. Get a chai. It's
All right, I'll try it.
bro. Whipped cream
I'll
and
let you know.
cinnamon.
I'm gonna check that out.
All right. Well,
All right. So sorry guys, if I didn't make much sense this episode, I am running on 3 hours of sleep. So
you did way better than me. I think you crushed it.
well, just for the listeners, if I rambled or didn't make sense or didn't connect points, yeah, well, there you go. My brain is like half firing right now. Had a
You
show
did
last
fine.
night in New Orleans. And,
How was it in New Orleans?
It was all right. It was okay. It was fun. I mean, it just for the effort, for the drive, I don't know. Like it was at a kind of a hole in the wallish bar.
Right.
I mean, there were like 80 to 100 people there. It wasn't.
on,
It
that's
wasn't
pretty
dead.
solid.
Yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't like crazy packed or nothing like that. And it was fun. I mean, I think the main reason I'm kind of bummed, like I felt like I played like shit. You know, I didn't like fuck up terribly bad to where like it's noticeable. Like, you know how you just didn't feel like 100% solid. It's like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
we just didn't feel like I was locked. Not just me, just as a band. I felt like we weren't locked in, and no one in the crowd noticed. No one said anything to us. I made that comment to the guys. I was like, that felt fucking off. They're like, yeah, it did. Felt a little off.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
Eddie's his kick fucking pedal fell apart and had to we had to stop mid set and borrow the other drummers.
Oh, damn.
Killed
dude.
the momentum. It's like, so it was okay. Wasn't terrible. People enjoyed it. but
Dude, can I make you feel better? Do you have
drive
to go?
sucked.
I got a short story to make you feel better.
If it's quick, I'm ready to go to bed.
We did an acoustic show February 19th, and it was their anniversary, and we worked hard for it, and I got hoodies ready. And we show up, and it was packed as fuck, and we were excited because finally, like, a good show, right?
Yeah.
But the couple days before, they added, and we played with them multiple times. They're great. It's a good brewery. It's going well. Stage time. It's like that repeat venue you find, you know? We finally fucking found it. So they added a guy before us, and when we got there, he wasn't done. And he wasn't finishing. I had to ask the bartender politely, could you let him know to stop so we can... So it was like a bad start. And then the kid finally stopped, but then he was like videoing and posting to social media. And we're like, we booked this like 2 months ago, made the flyer, did everything. And you add this guy last minute to fucking post on social media while we got 10 minutes. So finally I go up there and I'm polite. And I'm like, hey, we got to go up. He's like, oh, cool. When do you go on? It's like 10 minutes. Oh, and then he finally realizes. So now I'm pissed because they didn't even fucking tell this guy his spot, or does he just not give a fuck? So he's taking his time, like rolling up cable by cable instead of moving the fuck out the way as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So we get set up and started late. And this kid got the whole packed crowd. It starts trickling out after. So we did the work for this whole show. They throw this kid on last minute. He gets peak crowd. Goes late. God. Wastes our time. And then when we're almost done setting up, over in the corner is this cross-dresser, trans. And that's fine. I'm just telling you what was in the corner under the light. It was outside. There's an inside, outside, and then the garage. 3 sections. Awesome place.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And so this like really tall trans cross-dressers set up selling pies on the table. And that's fine. It was just there, right? But right when we were about to start, the manager comes out all happy and shit. It's like, hey, the pie queen's going to do 20 minutes and, you know, get the crowd going. And I'm like, what? She rolls a wagon to the corner of the courtyard, plugs up karaoke. And this is a place where we can't do covers because licensing. We've been doing 2 hours of originals.
Oh my God.
Does karaoke, straight covers. Sweet Caroline, no energy. And people are leaving. More people are leaving.
Oh, no.
She did like 20 or 30 minutes of these fucking karaoke's. And we're standing there.
God.
We're standing there now waiting. And I'm fucking livid. I'm fucking livid, dude.
I'd have left.
I'm fucking livid. And I made shit ton of hoodies. It took me like a day and a half. A ton of time making hoodies because we were going to sell it.
I'd have left.
So we got booted for the pie queen who was thrown on last minute, who took our merch spot. And then we had our time wasted by some opener who got the peak crowd, and we were fucking left with leftovers. Fucking leftovers. And I was so fucking pissed. And my bandmate didn't seem to care and told me I was taking it personal. I was like, no, I'm taking it professionally. This shit isn't fucking cool. So I felt like I was on an island wondering who the fuck does this shit. And because I was so mad, I went back the next day and I told the girl, I was like, I need to talk to the girl who booked because that was a disaster. And I told her, like, everybody else had a great night, but we got completely screwed. And I was so mad I never
What did she say?
She was polite and just said, okay, and told me when she'll be here. And I didn't go back because I'm just so mad. I don't want to go in there and, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so don't go in there emotional. Like, you're going to be emotional, so don't do it.
Fucking angry, dude. So fucking angry. Because I took a big hit. I think about, like, I wouldn't have fucking made hoodies if I known we would have had a shit merch spot. I wouldn't have cut my day short and rushed if I knew we weren't going to start till 7 anyway. I wouldn't have promoted if I knew we were going to get so fucked and play for nobody. I wouldn't have spent $30, 3 hours, 4 hours, and then an hour posting flyers when I could have been walking my dog who has to pee. You know what I'm saying? Like, I took, like, who the fuck does this? And then I'm on an island because I'm upset about it. My band was like, I think you're just taking it personal. I'm like, I can't believe I have to unpack this, why this isn't cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. I mean, especially if it's fucked on the booker fucked. Like, if they booked you for a specific time, so you got to be here for this time, be on for this time. I mean, is that what happened? Like, that's typically what happens with a show. Like, all right, doors at like last night, doors at 8, show starts at 9. You guys play second.
Well, it's a brewery, so it's like
be ready to go on like 9:45. Well, okay, fine.
It's a brewery, so people are like there, and then we set up in the corner type thing.
Sounds like they're not used to booking shows. Yeah,
they're not, but it's not hard to not do that shit. And it just takes common sense and courtesy not to like take the band who promoted that booked 2 months ago with you. And then be like, we're throwing on somebody before. We're not going to tell them when to stop. And then we're going to have you don't do that shit. It's just common sense and common courtesy. But yeah, the place is nice, but they don't. And all the other shows we do were good. It was that one. It was their anniversary. And it was like, fuck.
It was the brewery anniversary.
Yeah. And I got it on video. It's unlisted on our YouTube, but we're going to use it for press kit shit. But yeah.
I think you got a video out of it.
And then we had another show at the other location, March 19th, but I was sick and I had to not go. That was when I relapsed. And Joe said that one went fucking awesome. damn, the shows go great when I'm not there. So I felt really bummed. Like maybe the podcast would be better if I wasn't here too. Maybe everything would be better if I didn't.
You need to stop fucking saying that, bro. with that fucking attitude.
Maybe it was
podcast wouldn't exist if it wasn't you, bro.
That's true. Look at that fucking logo. I didn't make the logo. That was auto-generated. Yeah.
But the logo's dope. I like the cat. I like the all-seeing eye.
As long as it's ours. Like if it's still for sale on the website. You know what I'm saying?
That would
but like
suck if someone jacks it and then like we get hit with like copyright infringement.
Yeah, like god damn it.
Fuck, we have to fucking worry about a lawsuit now. Anyway.
Right. Well, fine episode,
good
man.
episode, man. I enjoyed it, bro. It's good to be back. Good to be rebranded.
Yeah, man.
Look forward to digging into some more Gobekli Tepe mysteries.
We're gonna do that
3.
Yeah, you want to do chapter 3 next?
Let's fucking do it.
It's pretty short. Let's just stay on this.
We'll do some more Martin Sweatman comparisons as well.
Yeah, I thought about this, and we'll wrap up with this. We need to finish chapter 3 because it gets into Russia and the giants. It's done with Gobekli Tepe, basically.
Nice.
We'll finish chapter 3. We can finish Martin Sweatman's videos because they go on about some good shit, and then we can do an article I have of something found at Gobekli Tepe.
Fuck yeah!
So that
sounds like a plan.
That might be 4 episodes. Chapter 3, Martin Sweatman's videos are a lot, and then the article. So let's just bust through those.
Yeah, it depends on how long the episode is. We'll see.
Let's do chapter 3 and then Martin Sweatman's videos in one.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We could do that done.
All right, maybe not Wednesday, but whatever.
Yeah, Wednesday might be pushing. We'll try though. I mean, I'll see. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get the research done.
Let's do chapter 3 Wednesday. I can do that.
We'll see. I'll see if I have. I'll let you know.
Yeah, let
Wednesday
me know.
morning.
Let me know.
I'll let you know Wednesday morning.
Thursday night, you can get up a Friday episode.
Or Wednesday night.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, man. I still gotta go clean up and I'm ready to go to bed.
Rest up. Thanks for muscling this out, dude.
Yeah, man.
Go sleep.
I enjoyed it, bro.
All right,
man. I'll see you later on this week.
All right, peace, bro.
Peace.